speaking here in Connecticut, I was wondering if you might comment on Harriet Beecher Stowe and her novel, Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Harriet Beecher Stowe wrote a book, Uncle Tom's Cabin, and when I was president, I walked down to the Library of Congress, and I signed out a book, The Key to Uncle Tom's Cabin, which detailed, in her accounts, how she was able to craft that story from actual accounts from slaves and slave owners. And I was particularly interested in that. I met Harriet Beecher Stowe, her sister and one of her daughters, after I signed the preliminary proclamation in September. That December, she came to the White House advocating that I go ahead and sign the proclamation on January the 1st. And when she came into the room, she was only about this high. And I said, so this is the little woman who wrote the book that started this great war. And we talked about the desire for peace. And we talked about the biblical account of turning swords into plowshares and spears into pruning hooks. And nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. I also told her that whichever way the outcome is, whichever way this conflict ends, I have the distinct impression that I shan't last much longer after it's over.
Mr. President, name escapes me, but he's from Glastonbury, Connecticut, I believe he's Secretary of War.
Gideon Wells, who sometimes I call Poseidon.
Wells, thank you. He was responsible for the blockade around the Confederacy, which many historians say that this brought the war to a quicker end. Is that true?
Yes, you know, without the help of the Navy, Uncle Sam could only do so much, and we could only be on land. And so it's so important to close off those ports of call, so that they could not receive goods from Europe that was so interested in supplying those people in rebellion, as well as manning the rivers, defending the rivers, defending the Potomac River from any ships trying to come up to try to attack Washington.
We can take maybe two more questions and then. Yeah, please.
Well, and a lot of this was debated, whether the war would have been fought for slavery or states' rights, as it were. I don't want to debate that, but what I want to know is, what do you feel about that?
Well, I just find it interesting with states' rights that with the fugitive slave law that turned all Northerners into slave catchers, what would Mississippi say if Pennsylvania wanted to exert its states' rights and not go along with it? So I think that to bring it in full circle, I think that slavery, the desire of one group of men to enslave another group of men is inherently wrong and does not reflect our ideal that all men are created equal. And we must do our part to make the phrase liberty for all truer for all people.
I think your question also cuts to the core of, especially the beginning of the war. Because Lincoln says very forthrightly in his inaugural address that he does not have the power as President of the United States under the Constitution to impact slavery where it had at that time currently existed, anywhere in the South. He believed that the federal government did have authority over slavery in the West, in the Western territories. And so Lincoln does not advocate the war on behalf of ending slavery. He advocates the war on behalf of defending the nation. And he said very plainly in the inaugural that states do not have the right to secede from the Union, that is not one of their rights, that the nation was founded, and this again brings Lincoln not to the Constitution so much, but to the Declaration of Independence and the recognition that the Union had existed, in fact, prior to the Constitution, that the Union had begun even before the Declaration of Independence was written with the United Colonies. And then with the Declaration of Independence, they had joined together, and under the Constitution, they had made a solemn contract with one another, and that no nation, in its conception, in its founding document, would ever write in its own demise as well. And so Lincoln advocated fighting on behalf of free government, on behalf of the Union. And certainly for the state of Connecticut, we have 55,000 men who go forward in this war. The vast majority of them, certainly at the outset of the war, prior to the Emancipation Proclamation, the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation, they did not go into the field to fight on behalf of abolition. They did not go to fight on behalf of black rights. William Lloyd Garrison at one point referred to Connecticut as the Georgia of New England. We were not the center of abolitionism, as you recognize. We were certainly in New England probably the state most hostile to abolition, which is very different from what we have come to believe about New England, about Connecticut as a sort of progressive state. And so very few of the soldiers go forward to fight on behalf of abolishing slavery. They fight on behalf of maintaining the Union and maintaining a system of free government. And you get that in the Gettysburg Address. The idea of the free institutions and carrying those on, and we are in fact following in the footsteps of our fathers, of our grandfathers who had created the nation in the American Revolution. We are carrying that on. The aims of the war shift as things go along, but even at the end of the war, the majority of white Northerners don't believe in black equality. They've come to accept emancipation as both the product of the war and as a lever to end the war sooner. But they're not abolitionists, even at the end. One more question and we'll thank President Lincoln. Oh, surely you people can pull one more question for us. Yes?
Along those lines that you're talking about with emancipation and equal rights, did President Lincoln actually believe in equal rights, in terms of voting for the Negro and everything that comes along with that, or did you just think that they should be not enslaved?
Well, the first part is that when I was debating Stephen Douglas running for senator in Illinois, I said that I do not believe the Negro should vote, should marry white people, should hold high offices, although I did say privately, if a Negro woman wanted to marry a white man, she can, as long as she can stand it. What I did say is I did feel that the black man is the same as the white man in terms of doing a day's worth of labor. And then I'm going to break period, and what happens, what eventually gets Lincoln shot, is that he's proclaiming how great it is the new Constitution of Louisiana is that allows the legislature to, if they so decide, give those free blacks the right to vote. So he was championing that blacks could vote, and that's why Booth in the audience said, well, that means nigger citizenship. That's the last speech he's ever going to make. I'm going to run him through. And so Lincoln was actually shot because he was eventually came to that point of greater and greater equality between the Negro race and the white race. It's so nice to know that someone in their 50s can still make that much progress and be white in America.
Well, thank you very much, President.
So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President, Professor Morshower, and please join us downstairs for our light reception.
Well, good seeing you again.
I got a nice profile with him in the background. You can see.
Oh, cool, excellent. Yeah, I have this one. I'm glad you got it on record because I ran out of room on my phone, so I'm glad I got it.
Oh, it's beautiful. Why don't you say something to the camera? It's recording. Say, hi, I'm Tanya. But you don't have to look at it. Well, you can look in it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tanya. We enjoyed the show.